Hey y'all! This week's episode is all about potential changes in the industry and what you can do to be prepared, not scared. It is a must listen. I also wanted to remind you that the doors to Agent Systems 101 are open now through Friday, September 15th. This program is going to hold your hand and tell you exactly what to do and when to do it during the 6-week course. This time, the course is coming with a brand new live support component, the Accelerator. If the idea of simplicity creating consistency in your business appeals to you, then this is the place for you. Find out more and come join me at agentsystems101.com. No more waiting around.
Yeah.
This is happening.
We need to know.
Okay, and look, y'all, they could win the case, they could lose the case. But I still think
you need to know.
You need to know.
I don't remember what I said next, but it was obviously the wrong thing. Because if you scroll up, you see the years of rejection.
And yet she keeps coming back.
And she keeps coming back.
It's like we're cutting a wire on a bomb.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Is it going to go off or not?
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alissa and Katy, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths. Alissa, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm making my papers on the news desk noise.
We're on the news today.
Alissa
can see.
Alissa wore her glasses, and we are talking about items in the news.
Yes.
Literal real estate news, literal news. This is episode number 214.
And today's headline
is
a big topic right now.
Buyer brokerage, preparing for changes in the real estate industry.
And we're going to try to make this as not boring as possible.
I'm so excited about this. I have been doing research for longer than any episode I have ever researched. I have read many, many articles, and I am prepared to share with all of you what you need to know.
And I have not prepared at all. I even tried to say, let's not record this today.
I forced her to record it today with this disclaimer. There are a couple of disclaimers. One, we're trying to tell you what is going on so that you can be prepared for coming changes. I am not here to tell you exactly the process that you will use if and when these changes occur.
Right.
Okay? So this is more of background.
You just need to know what's going on in the industry.
Always, but especially this.
Yes.
Because things are
heating up.
Things are heating up. Good words. Okay. Yes. My next disclaimer is we are not lawyers.
No.
I am not offering any legal advice. However, I am about to share with you briefly what is going on and how it could change your business.
Yes.
Are you prepared?
Mm-hmm.
Any other disclaimers from you before we go?
No.
Other than you're wearing your glasses
and
you're
I
not
feel
prepared.
very official. Yes.
Okay.
If you could just share, because I'm kind of coming in. My office has started ending the sales meeting with
the sky's falling,
with a little prep of how to handle this. Okay. Because we now do the podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I go to the Monday morning meeting. The sales meeting is usually one that I skip.
Because that's Wednesday and you're like, I'm all booked
Wednesday,
up.
Yes. By that time, I'm
I can't.
I'm sorry. I will go to the Monday meeting. But I also know that at some point, instead of just going to sales meeting for the last 20 minutes to hear about this, our office will have a whole class.
And that's what you
So I'm
will
kind of
attend.
holding out for that,
Okay.
which is why I'm really feeling out of the, I mean, I know what's going on, but
feel like you're not fully prepared.
You are in the loop.
This is okay. We're going to get to what Connie is doing towards the end.
Okay.
I have questions for you. So just put a pin in it.
Okay.
Okay, let's back up. People are like,
what are we even talking
what the
about?
heck are you even talking about?
Okay, go, Katy. You tell them.
This is from my friends at Inman. You know, Inman is a real estate media company, publishes really great newsletters, I guess, twice a week, every day. I don't know. They're constantly in my inbox, but this is from Inman. They break it down for us so well. Okay. The industry is confronting a number of legal and regulatory challenges right now, but the bombshell label is usually understood as applying to a pair of class action antitrust cases called Sitzer Burnett and Moehrl. I think I'm saying that right.
How do you spell that?
Moehrl is Moehrl.
Okay, and Sitzer, Burnett, and Moehrl.
Yeah. I'm going to get you more on this.
This is the group of lawsuits.
There's 2 separate lawsuits.
Okay.
Okay. Both cases are known by the names of their consumer plaintiffs. Okay. So the plaintiffs are the homeowners who filed them.
Okay.
And they are class action, which means it's not just one homeowner. It is a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold please while I get back to where my place was. The cases argue, in essence, that some of the National Association of Realtors rules, including one that requires listing brokers to offer buyer brokers a commission in order to list a property in a realtor-affiliated MLS, multiple listing service, violate the Sherman Antitrust Act by inflating seller costs.
So they are saying because we make it a requirement to offer buyer's agent compensation from the listing side, that is a violation.
Correct. However, the lawyers for NAR and the other parties are going to argue lots of things, one of which is you can offer $1 and still get into the MLS.
Right.
In most places. So they would argue that $1 is equivalent to 0.
Sure.
So you really don't, in a way, have to. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not a lawyer and I'm not arguing the case right now. I'm just telling you what the cases are. Now, let's go a little deeper. One of the suits, known as Sitzer Burnett, is scheduled to go on trial October 16th.
Okay.
Okay, y'all.
Of 2023.
That's right. You're hearing this, if you're listening to it the day it airs, on September 11th. So next month, Sitzer Burnett goes on trial. Okay. I'm going to tell you, it covers 4 MLS markets in Missouri specifically, and is asking for reimbursement. Hold on to your hat.
Oh, gosh.
Of $1.3 billion in commissions that hundreds of thousands of sellers paid to buyers' agents over 8 years. Plus potential treble, this is not funny, plus potential treble damages that could raise the total to around $4 billion.
Whoa.
I will tell you this, of what I have read, and let's just assume that they win their case. This would effectively and potentially bankrupt all of the defendants, who include Remax, Keller Williams, a couple of other Rheology, I think, and NAR, actual NAR.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a bunch of big defendants.
Big names.
Okay,
big defendants.
Now, on the other suit, which is known as Moehrl, Moehrl, will likely go to trial in the first half of 2024.
Okay.
It covers 20 MLS markets nationwide and potentially millions of home sellers. Y'all, millions of home sellers are asking for reimbursement of an estimated, wait for it, you thought the other one was bad, $13.7 billion with a B in damages. And if the courts award treble damages, y'all, I'm not a lawyer, I don't even know what that means, that figure could go up to $41 billion.
And this is all because they want their money back from
sellers.
The sellers want their money back from feeling like they were forced
to pay the
buyer's agent.
Correct. Now, in a completely related but separate situation, back in 2020, hold on, let's read. The DOJ, so the Department of Justice for the entire United States of America, so this is the big, right? On Friday of August 11th this year, attorneys for the DOJ's Antitrust Division told the appeals court the lower district court had misrepresented the DOJ's letter to the NAR, which had given the association almost 3 years of protection in the face of serious concerns of anti-competitive conduct.
I don't know what you just read.
I'm going to tell you.
I don't know.
The DOJ had a case open investigating NAR, the National Association of Realtors.
In what year?
2020.
Okay.
It was settled. Okay. And that NAR and DOJ, they settled. I think this is at the point in time when they started telling you you're no longer allowed to say buyers agents commissions are free.
Right.
There were a couple of rules changes or some things that came out of that, but it was settled. And now the DOJ has said, we're coming back to this.
Oh,
okay. We're coming back to this, and this is what they said. It is well past time for NAR's rules to be assessed on their merits, and the division has an obligation to investigate potential antitrust violations that may cost American home buyers billions of dollars each year. Okay? So that's a separate thing from these other two cases, but it is basically coming back into play. All of these things are sort of going to impact each other, okay? And this is why we're talking about this.
Right.
Okay? Now, I'm going to cover with you. I know this is a lot. Do y'all need to take a breather?
Let's take a breather. I'm afraid.
Do you have any questions on what we've covered so far?
So I'm afraid of big entities like the IRS.
This is your worst nightmare.
The post office.
This is the worst.
This is very scary. So being on our very publicly shared platform, if we need to edit anything I say out,
we can edit you. And
but here's where
we're not lawyers.
Right. We're not lawyers, but here's where I'm confused as a realtor is that I feel as though
please tell me.
We are very transparent in the listing agreement how the fees are broken up. And if you are not pleased with that, you don't have to sign it. You can go be a for sale by owner.
Great news. I venture to guess NAR's lawyers will assert similar arguments.
Okay. So I'm on the right track.
You're not wrong. Defense. You're not wrong. Okay. And they are going to have a well paid for defense because NAR is a huge entity with a lot of money to spend on lawyers. Okay. So yes, keep up with the train of thought.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to defend the suits.
No.
I'm just telling you what they are, and y'all, they're happening. They're going to trial, which means it's going to be talked about. And look, whether it goes the way of NAR or it goes the way of the plaintiff, it's going to be in the public's eye to where it might open their eyes a little bit more to commissions.
Sure.
Okay. And make them, like, just in general, maybe it's going to make them a little more aware. Okay. Now, I want to cover two things. Inman, this is from an Inman article on August 15th of 2023. The two NAR rules that both sides are fighting over, so the DOJ situation, these are the actual rules. Are you ready? The participation rule, which requires listing brokers to offer a blanket unilateral offer of compensation to buyer brokers in order to submit the listing to the MLS. So we've already said this.
Okay.
So
that's rule number one.
That's number one.
You have to offer something to a buyer broker to be an MLS.
Correct. The second rule the DOJ is worried about. So that's the rule that's really in all of this, right?
Okay.
The second rule, though, is the clear cooperation policy, which requires listing brokers to submit a listing to their realtor-affiliated MLS within 1 business day of marketing the property to the public. So this is really a pocket listing situation.
Okay. So that's a NAR rule.
Correct.
1 day.
Correct. And our MLS enforces it.
Yeah, I thought it was like 3 days.
It's 1 day. You have
day.
1 business day. So if you list something on Friday, you could advertise it all weekend and put it in the MLS on Monday, according to this rule.
Okay.
But that's what the DOJ...
But every MLS does have their own rules, so just be sure you're checking your local market.
Okay, so the end of that part is both of those rules are subject to multiple antitrust lawsuits, which we've already talked about.
So they're saying the actual rule is a violation.
The government is coming for the rule.
Okay, because they're saying forcing you to pay to be offering payment to be in the MLS
is a problem.
Is
Is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. That's what the
Okay.
DOJ is talking about. Y'all, I feel so official and fancy right now.
I actually felt like it would be good for you, like one of us, to know all of this and then me to represent the listeners.
So it's going okay so far?
Yeah, I think so, because I can
All right.
I can speak on behalf of those of us who are
Less educated on it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have followed the generic version, but we're getting into the nitty-gritty.
We're in the weeds, y'all.
That's why we're here
look,
today, because it's very important.
y'all should be in the weeds with me.
Yes, we're
You
coming.
need to know this. This
We're
is on a
coming, Katy.
need to know basis, and you need to know.
We're going to be on Katie's level here shortly,
Any
everyone.
second. Okay. And I have been reading these articles for months. So to be fair, I've been slowly digesting it. I know this is a lot to take in right now. That's
Mhm.
why I tried to break it down into like the real bare bones.
That's why that's very helpful. The government is coming after the NAR
rules. These two rules
that we have in place.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we're going to keep going. In the Friday brief, the attorneys for the DOJ, so the government, stressed that NAR, in its own appeal, so the earlier when they settled the deal, right, had not disputed that the government, because right now they're reopening the case, if you will, and NAR's like, hold up, you settled this, you said we were all done, and DOJ's like, yeah, you've had 3 years to be done, and we've decided we never told you we were never coming back to this.
You've had 3 years off. We're coming back.
We're coming back around
to reevaluate. It's sort of like an audit.
Kind of.
They're re-auditing.
Right. It's basically, so basically NAR has filed an appeal. Look, y'all, again, I told you, this is very law heavy, but NAR filed an appeal. If you like Crime Junkie or any kind of those podcasts, I feel like that's what we're getting into.
Okay.
Like the law part of it. Okay. Basically, NAR has filed an appeal. And the attorneys for the DOJ are responding, and they said that the government had NAR's saying the government had properly exercised its unqualified right to withdraw from the proposed settlement agreement before it became final, and that withdrawal had released the parties from their respective rights and obligations, thereunder freeing NAR to resume its prior conduct. So, okay, fine.
So NAR is like, wait, you said we were
You
good.
said I was okay.
Okay.
You said I was okay. All right, now, the agency, that's the DOJ, has maintained that neither NAR nor the courts should read more into its November 2020 letter than what it says. And y'all can do what you want with it, but I'll read you the letter. It's very brief. This was whenever the thing was settled. This letter is to inform you that the Antitrust Division has closed its investigation into the National Association of Realtors Clear Cooperation Policy and Participation Rule. Accordingly, NAR will have no obligation to respond to CID numbers blah, 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 and blah, 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 issued on April 12th, 2019 and June 29th, 2020, respectively. Here's the most important part, y'all. No inference should be drawn, however, from the division's decision to close its investigation into these rules, policies, or practices not addressed by the consent decree.
What does that mean?
Y'all, no inference means you're not supposed to assume this means anything other than we're not asking you to provide this stuff right now.
Okay.
We're case closed for a minute.
So they're 3 years
is
later, they're reopening it.
This is not a murder trial. It's not like if you were acquitted, you're off forever and you can never be tried for this crime. They're basically saying, look, we told you we were done with this at the time, but we're back. We're back.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're back. Now what?
Y'all, if a lawyer is listening to this and I'm getting it terribly wrong, please send me a message because I'm doing literally my best. No, I'm doing my best. Okay, so now are you ready for your survey? So before we got on, y'all, I told Alissa I was going to give her a multiple choice test. And it's not a test at all. There are no right answers. Are you ready?
I don't know.
It is going to, I had to give you all that background.
I feel like this would be a good one to watch on YouTube.
You're like, get ready as I get my papers on the table. Okay, here's the deal. Inman this week, this is in August as we're recording this, has an inaugural survey on agent commissions. Okay. So they wanted to ask us our opinion on these questions.
And you have the answers?
I have the choices. There's no right answers.
Can I read them?
I'm going to give them to you.
I know. Okay.
You don't want me to give? All right. Do you want to read them? Let's start with an easy one. Choose the option that best describes your occupation.
Okay.
Agent, broker, real estate tech entrepreneur, realtor association executive, MLS executive, or other.
Agent.
Okay, look, you already got the first one right. Here's another easy one. How many agents?
And what is this survey for? this questionnaire?
It's a survey on agent commissions.
Okay. Keep
Okay.
going.
So Inman is trying to learn from its readers their thoughts on all of what I just talked to you about.
Okay.
Okay. But they needed a little background.
Yes.
So question 2, you can get right, I think. How many agents does your company have?
Oh, Lord.
Look, it was 1 to 5, 6 to 20, 21 to 50, or more than 50.
Oh, good. More than 50.
You got that one right, too.
Big office.
Okay. Number 3. How many? Y'all answer these in your head with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Write down your answers.
Inman, give me a call if you want
If you need our data.
If you need our data. How many agents in your company would you say are aware of the various commission lawsuits? Now,
Okay.
I'm going to give you the choices.
Okay.
All, most, half, less than half, none, or almost none.
I would say half because our broker has been talking about it for a long time.
How long?
Since last year.
Okay, so they're really in the know.
Yeah, and then this last month is when they
It's
sent
like-
out an email that
They're
was
getting
like,
very
listen, you need to be at sales meeting for the next 6 weeks. This is very important.
Do you want me to tell you why they did that?
Yeah.
Because they just assigned this trial date at that point in time.
Oh, so now that we have a date of October 16th
Exactly.
and quarter 1 of next year, they're
That's
like,
when they found out the date.
we got to prepare.
It's like, no more waiting around.
Yeah.
This is happening.
we need to know.
Okay, and look, y'all, they could win the case, they could lose the case. But I still
But
think
you need to know.
You need to know. Okay. And honestly, I'm fascinated by all of it.
It is fast.
Because we don't need to be afraid. We need to be prepared. That's the
Right.
point of this episode. We don't need to be afraid. We need to be prepared. Are you ready for your next question?
Yes.
You might not like this one.
Oh, God.
How do you think the lawsuits will end? Hold on. I'm going to give you the choices. The real estate establishment, NAR, various large companies, will win. The consumers suing the real estate establishment will win. Or the parties will settle.
What? Number 1, I believe, based on my limited non-attorney knowledge, that we will win because the paperwork is very transparent and you don't have to sign it if you don't want to.
Okay. I think you may be right. I think there are plenty of arguments that would be leaning that way. Okay.
Now, that's how I feel about the listing agreement.
Right.
I can see where the NAR rule number 1, making it a requirement
Mhm.
to offer buyer broker compensation to be in the MLS could be interpreted as like we're forcing your hand. And so I can see how on the defense they could say it's in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act.
Mhm.
But it's just the MLS is not the end all be all. It's I'm just speaking my opinion.
Go.
It's just an additional marketing tool.
Yeah.
If you would like to pay to be a part of that marketing tool, you can. It's not a free tool.
Yeah.
You don't have to use this tool.
No.
You can go market on your own
Yeah.
and you don't have to pay it. We are not requiring that every single person that sells their home is in the MLS.
Right.
That would be a huge violation.
Correct.
But the fact that all of this is optional
Yeah.
is why I believe.
Alyssa Jenkins.
I feel like I'm on the debate team.
Yeah.
This is why I believe NAR will win.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
We are so excited to announce something, Alyssa.
We are having Carl Carter from the Beverly Carter Foundation come and speak to our Hustle Humbly community on Tuesday, September 12th at 2 p.m. Central Time.
This is a big deal.
It is a big deal. We interviewed Carl way back in episodes 6 and 7 when he shared the tragic story of how his mother, Beverly Carter, was kidnapped and murdered while she was showing property. Since then, Carl has started the amazing Beverly Carter Foundation, and he is on a mission to bring safety awareness to realtors. And we are so honored that he is going to come and speak to our community on Tuesday, the 12th.
That's right. So if you'd like to join us for that live with Carl, ask him your questions, get his current tips, you can do that at hustlehumblypodcast.com/meet. membership.
If you are already in the community, just mark your calendars because you will have access to that event. And if you would like to join the community to come hear what Carl has to say, just head on over to the website and we will see you at 2 p.m. Central on Tuesday, September 12th.
That's right. How optimistic are you that NAR and other establishment players in the commission cases will win the lawsuits on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most? So you just said they're going to win. How optimistic are you, 1 to 5?
4.
Okay. That's, I think.
If I need to come speak. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. You're going to go to the trial. Yeah. How big a deal? Okay, now get ready. How big a deal are the commission suits on a scale of 1 to 5? 5 being the most consequential. Like, just how big of a deal is this?
I don't know. I'm going to say 3.5. It is serious.
It's serious.
It is serious. But you would say 5.
I honestly... I think I would go 4 or 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere in the 4.5 range.
Okay.
Not a choice. All right. Next up. What changes in the industry do you anticipate even before the lawsuits are decided? This one I think is fascinating, and I'm going to give you the choices.
Okay. What changes do I think will take place because of all this going on? Before anything is even decided. Okay.
Okay. Nothing will change before the lawsuits are decided. We like to stick our head in the sand.
Yeah.
Nothing will change.
Nothing.
That's option 1.
I'm already seeing change, right? Aren't you?
Hold on.
Okay.
Option 2. More brokers will start requiring buyer agents to use buyer agency agreements.
Mm-hmm.
Choice number C. NAR will rescind its rule requiring listing brokers to offer a buyer broker's commission. D. More MLSs will eliminate the rule requiring that listing brokers offer buyer broker commission, making commission sharing optional. Or E, other.
I'm just going to go with B. I think that before all of this comes to an agreement, we are already going to start seeing people implementing buyer agency agreements.
I completely agree with you. And I would like to also state for the record, in our market, this is one of the weirdest things that I think is from market to market so different.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in every market uses a listing agreement.
Yes.
Right? I have to have a contract with the seller because guess what? They're paying me.
Right.
The reason why buyer brokerage agreements have been so optional and willy-nilly and in our market almost non-existent
mm-hmm.
is because you never really had to tie down your buyer to say, I'm going to pay you because you knew
you were
going to get compensated from that cooperating broker. Okay. So I can totally see where brokers are going to be like, let's start doing this buyer agreement.
I think now is the great time to break for a quick story.
Please, let's hear it. Yeah. Good news, everyone. We're going to take a break.
Take a break from all this heaviness. Okay.
So heavy.
To hear about one of my flops.
Let's hear it.
So Connie my broker, has always been, she understands that in a perfect world, would we all have buyer agency agreements? Yes.
I agree with that.
Does anybody in our market use them? No. Could that cost you a client? Maybe.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When I tried to prepare a little bit for this episode, but I also didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty because I wanted you to educate me, which you are.
You're welcome.
But the first thing I found this podcast.
Oh God.
And it was a legit person, talking about the buyer broker agreement. And the first thing he said was, I only use them if it's someone that I really don't want to work with. Because they will likely just say, I'm not signing that, and then they leave. And then I don't have to work with them. So I was like, that's interesting, because I have always kind of felt that way. And here's my story.
I feel like I want you to choose your words carefully from here, and I want to hear the story. Only because, do you think that would be a potential, like a fair housing violation?
Right. Like, you can't tell some people.
You have to do this.
You have to do this.
But it is your business.
It's my business.
You can run it however you want.
Yes. But if you don't make everybody sign a buyer agreement and you only save it for the ones that you don't want to work with, that is 100% setting you up for a lawsuit.
I think so.
It's all or nothing.
I agree. Okay, but tell the rest of your story.
So I had a girl that I went to grad school with,
mm-hmm.
and we were friends. friendly. We were in a project together. We didn't hang out too much, but we had a lot of classes together. So we were friends on social media. Everything's good.
You cross paths.
We crossed paths a lot.
A lot.
I liked her.
Okay.
So I'm a newer agent at this point, out of grad school, and she messages me and she's like, hey, I want to buy a house. Can you help me? And I'm like, absolutely. I would love to help you. And we get to talking. And I'm like, have you talked to anybody about budget? You know, I'm trying to see where we are in the pre-approval process.
Right.
And she just kind of stopped responding. And so I was like, that's weird. So I follow up again. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how I can help you, blah, blah, blah. No response. So I try again. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted to check in. Okay. Finally, she's like, oh, sorry. I ended up buying a house with my aunt. It was like a family member. And I just thought,
like, all right.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But whatever. Fast forward, same person, okay, messages me years later to sell the house.
That she bought with the aunt.
That she bought with the aunt.
Not you.
Hey, and I was surprised because I kind of felt a little validated. Like, you know, she kind of rejected me then, but she came back because I handled it well.
You were like, I did my job.
I was nice,
okay.
You know. So she's like, we need to sell this house, and I don't remember. And so I'm like, I would love to help you.
Right.
I don't remember what I said next, but it was obviously the wrong thing. Because next thing you know, she's ghosting me again.
You're like, this
and I'm like,
sounds familiar.
This sounds very familiar. And I was treading lightly because of the first
You're like,
time.
I don't want to get ghosted.
I don't want to get ghosted.
And you did anyway.
I did anyway. No matter what I said, I was trying to even be overly helpful. And then it was like, I don't remember what happened. Like, we sold it for sale by owner or something. Okay. So I'm like,
they sold it, but not with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what happened. Okay. Just recently, years later.
More years
have passed. And I'm sitting with you on a podcast day. And I get this message from her. And it's so funny because if you scroll up, you see the years of rejection.
And yet she keeps coming back.
And she keeps coming back. So I told Katy, I was like, I don't know what to do. This is going to be, she's now wants to buy like a big property with some land and all this stuff. So she's telling me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would be so excited to help you. I'm talking to Katy about it, telling her about how I've been ghosted and I've never been able to understand what's going on here. And so I said, what's your email address? I will send you some information. And we decided that she would be someone that before you put in a lot of effort with, you would want to make sure you were
commitment.
Yeah, I need some commitment.
She needed to commit.
I needed some commitment. I'm not about to drop everything I'm doing to help you if I'm going to get a rejection Facebook message in a few days.
Well, right. And because the market was so fast at that point,
yes,
it would have been like a drop everything, show it situation.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
So I'm like, I hate this buyer's compensation form. You know,
it feels very contracty.
It is very contracty, but I do so I thought instead of shoving this contract in her face, why don't we make like a cover letter for it?
Yeah.
And we called it a buyer agreement.
Right.
Okay.
Sure
we
did.
are, before you start emailing and messaging us, just showing YouTube a sneak peek. We're not sharing this right now.
No.
We may tweak it and share a version of it.
Depending on how
all these lawsuits play out. I felt very good about this happy that YouTube can see buyer agreement that I made.
Yeah.
It is pretty.
It's almost like a resume for buyers.
It's a resume for buyers, and it says, you know, how does working with a realtor work?
Like, let's talk it through.
Yeah. Do you want me to?
No, I don't think we need.
But it also says, my commitment to you.
Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to do all these things.
Then
and
it's what are you going to do?
Yeah, and then it starts, how does it work? My commitment to you, and then your commitment to me.
Right.
You know, like it has some of our buyer rules in there. If you use any of our templates, like just make sure that you always give my name. If you go to an open house, I am your realtor and you are my client. We will work together and we will stay loyal to each other.
Correct.
Okay. So it's just and it's written very kindly.
We spent a lot of time on this.
We did. And when it was over, I was really proud of it.
Yeah.
Very proud of it. So I emailed it to her and I got blasted.
She sent you an ugly email.
She sent me an ugly email back, which I disputed. And she said, I feel like every single time I reach out to work with you, you don't want to work with me. I have never had to sign anything when I was working with a realtor as a buyer. So I don't understand why you would want me to sign something.
Because you ghosted me twice
and so
before.
I said, Sally, if you go back, I said, every time you messaged me, if you go back and read our messages, and they're there, and I just reread them. I've reread them every time you have messaged me.
Yeah, every time you stab me in the back.
Every time you message me, I went back and read them. And if you go do the same, you will see that every time you reached out, I responded with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to help you.
Right.
I'm so excited to work with you. And then I said, what can I help you with now?
Yeah.
And it was always followed up with days of silence, followed by a rejection message.
Yeah. What did she say then?
I said, I take my business very seriously.
Yeah.
And I am a busy realtor and I am very specific with my clients and I do a lot for them.
Yeah.
So if you would like to work with me, this is what I need from you.
Okay.
But this is the third time I have been excited to work with you. And you have rejected me all the times before.
Right.
She totally changed her tune.
What did she say?
I don't remember exactly.
Did you work with her?
I did not work with her. I feel like once you say, I need you to sign this, and they say no.
There's no going back. But she did change her tune.
Yeah, she did change her tune. And she was like, well, that first time.
She had excuses.
She had all these excuses.
Got it.
And I said, I understand. And she said, I never thought about how that looked on my end.
No doubt.
I said, well, I'm just letting you know, don't say it was me.
Right.
Because I was always, I was just honest. I said, I always had my feelings a little bit hurt after I talked to you.
Yeah.
And I always felt like maybe I wasn't good enough for you.
She wasn't good enough for you.
This time around, third time's a charm, I thought I better protect myself.
And stand your ground.
And you obviously know a lot of realtors because you have done some real estate transactions and I have never been used. And I said, listen, I'm sorry I can't help you. She had already told me for what she was looking out for. I said, if I happen to come across something, I will keep you in mind. But, you know, I'm just not making any promises because I'm here to work for my clients.
Yeah.
And she was like, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry this didn't work out. But I was like, that escalated very quickly.
Right.
Very quickly.
But the good news is what came out of it was this really fabulous buyer agreement cover letter.
Yeah. I mean, it's
really nice.
It's really nice. I'm very pleased with how it looks.
It doesn't have a great track record of working.
It's got a 100% fail rate at this point.
So if y'all want it.
So yeah, come get your freebie. No freebie. No freebie
nothing.
Here. Do not
There's
email
nothing.
us asking for this. But in the event that we are ruled differently.
If things change.
And we have to
need
switch
this
to a 100% buyer compensation agreement.
Yeah.
Maybe at that time.
Then we'll talk.
We'll talk.
Okay. Are you ready to go back to the survey? Back to the survey.
What is it? Back to our regularly scheduled
programming. That's right. We're very newsy since we've been at this desk.
Yes, we like this desk.
We really do. Okay. Now, what do you see as the single biggest likely consequence of the lawsuits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here are your choices. A, NAR and the franchisors will have to pay a lot of money but survive. B, NAR and the franchisors will go bankrupt. C, commission sharing will become optional or banned outright. D, consumers will no longer use buyer agents. E, buyer agent commissions will rise. Oh, wait, there might be an F. Oh my God, there's an F and F. Buyer agent commissions will fall. What A, B, C, or G? G, NAR and other industry groups will lobby to have buyer agent commissions rolled into the mortgage.
What number is that?
Ugh.
Letter.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
And they will lobby for it to be rolled in.
Yeah, I didn't know there were so many choices. And then H, more brokers will change from a commission-based model to a flat fee or a la carte model.
Okay, read the original question and I will tell you my answers.
What do you see as the single biggest likely consequence of the lawsuits?
I think, Katy, that the single biggest consequence will be A, NAR will have to pay a lot of money, but read it again.
Will survive.
But we will survive.
Okay.
Survive. Okay. I also think that F, if this all passes, I think that buyer agent commissions will fall. I do.
They'll be less.
I think if we lose this lawsuit as an industry,
and you have to start getting the buyer to agree.
And you have to start getting buyers to agree.
Uh-huh.
I do think that buyer agent commissions will drop.
Okay.
I also think that G,
Uh-huh.
that we are going to have to find a way for it to be rolled into the mortgage.
Right.
Because buyers, to pay their down payment, to pay their closing costs, and to pay their realtors is a huge chunk altogether.
Yeah, and we're not even going to get into what does it mean for home values when sellers stop paying kind of both sides? What does it mean?
Yeah, should home values go down
by some amount?
Right.
I mean, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if home values are what they are and then the seller's not paying that side, there should be a little bit of room.
But then if it's rolled into the mortgage, all these buyers are starting off upside down.
Correct.
Right. So that's not.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Because we're still talking about if it happened today and this house is worth $300,000, but now the seller is not paying that part, the buyer's paying it. It's really semantics at that point.
Yeah.
We're
moving it over.
It's still in the total cost of the house if it's being rolled into the mortgage, and the house is still worth that. Because trust me, the lender is going to make sure to appraise for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right. Okay. Question number 9. If NAR and the franchisors lose, how soon might you have to change your business practices? Here are your choices. I'm changing them now.
Before it even happens.
Right.
Okay.
Within the next 3 to 6 months after the lawsuit. Within the next 1 to 3 years. And then the last choice is in 4 or more years.
3 to 6 months. Like, I think that if we lose, the changes are going to go into effect immediately.
Okay. I voted 1 to 3 years.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times with something as big as this, there's got to be some transitional period.
Do they give you that? Or
I don't have a clue.
Or are they like, well, you're charging, so you're going to real estate jail?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
So that's the story. Okay, now number 10. If you're a broker, what is the single biggest change you're making now to prepare for the lawsuit rulings? And this is where...
And if your broker hasn't mentioned this at all, I'm just going to leave that there.
just
You should know about some of this.
Okay. Here are your choices. You ready? A, as a broker. If you were a broker, answer this as a broker. I'm considering requiring my buyer agents to have their buyers sign a buyer agency agreement.
Okay.
B, I've consulted with legal counsel about the possible impact of the lawsuits on my brokerage. C, I've reached out to my insurance company to check if expenses related to antitrust lawsuits are covered. D,
you should.
Right. I've sent my agents information detailing the lawsuits and their possible impact. E, I'm not making any changes before I know how the cases will end. F is other, or that's
I'm
it.
only supposed to pick one of these?
Well, G was not applicable. If you weren't a broker, you didn't answer. But for the sake of our podcast, if you were a broker,
if you're a broker, you at least need to D. I've sent my agents information detailing the lawsuits and their possible impact.
Yeah, bare minimum.
they need to at least know what's going on.
If they didn't and they're listening to this show, they sure know now.
I don't think B&C is a bad idea, consulting with legal counsel about the possible impact it could have on your brokerage, just to kind of understand. I also see reaching out to your insurance to say, if we get sued in something involving this antitrust lawsuit, what does that look like? Do I need to do something else?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Look, and not every brokerage is listed in these lawsuits. It's specific.
Weird.
Remax, Keller Williams,
We need
Reology. There's like 4 or 5.
Okay,
next question. Are the buyer agents in your company required to have clients sign buyer agency agreements? Yes, no, or not applicable.
And it's funny, in my office, we don't really have teams.
Yeah.
So we don't have buyer's agents.
Everyone is a buyer's agent.
But to answer the question, no, we do not use a buyer's agency agreement.
Yeah. I've never been in an office that did.
Okay.
12. I loved this survey. It made me think about all these.
This is helpful.
Okay.
It's very helpful.
All right. Do you train the listing agents in your company to tell sellers that the amount of commission they offer buyer's agents can affect whether those agents show the home? So do you say to sell, we're asking brokers. You don't have to answer this because you're NA, you're not a broker, but just a little thing to think about, y'all. If the broker is training listing agents to say that the commission they offer the buyer's agents can affect whether or not they show the home, and the answers were yes, no, I don't discuss this with them, no, I specifically train them not to do this, and not applicable. I'm not going to make you answer.
It does make you think, though, sometimes if a listing sits and you offer a bonus, you're offering more monetary compensation to try to get those showings going.
It's a bit disturbing when you start to dig into that thought process.
It is, when you really think about it.
Because you're like, yeesh, that does make it sound like.
Even though I think realtors are covered because of our listing agreement and how it's broken out and it's a choice, because I believe that, doesn't mean that this hasn't made me think about it as a whole. This is a good point.
I mean, I have said to a seller in the past, well, you have to be careful what you're offering on the buyer side because there are bad agents out there that will look at that. I never looked at that.
Yeah.
And said I wouldn't show a buyer.
So another interesting thing on this topic, when I was doing some research on using a buyer brokerage agreement, it said that it will not work if it is delivered in fear, out of a fear.
No.
Example, you can't tell your buyer, listen, if you don't sign this, I can't help you at all.
Right.
If you present it that way.
Yeah.
It won't work because you're trying to scare them into signing it. Same thing on the flip side. Well, Mr. Seller, if you're not paying enough, we're just not going to be able to sell your house.
That's a fear tactic,
That's a
right?
fear tactic. It's just something to think about.
Okay. Next up, if NAR and the other defendants lose, how will that affect your business income? My business will make less money. My business will make more money. My business will make about the same amount of money.
I just don't know.
I don't know either. I said my business will make about the same amount of money.
I don't think I'll make more money.
I have a thought process where I do think it will.
Yeah.
If you're a heavy listing agent.
Yes. I know. I don't know.
There may be.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into that. But look, if you're a buyer's agent, I 100% think your business could make less money.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
But
if
since we're kind of even.
Yeah, we're both pretty. I'm definitely 60-40, 60% listings, 40% buyers.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something for everyone to think about.
I would be much more nervous
if you were buyers.
Heavy buyers.
Okay, next. If the defendants lose, the defendants being NAR, do you anticipate the number of agents in your company changing? The number of agents will rise. The number of agents will decline. The number of agents will stay about the same.
I do not think the number will rise.
No.
we don't have a lot of part-time agents in my office specifically, so I think we would probably stay the same for a minute unless some people decided to early retire. Like, if this is going to change how real estate is done and you have to change everything you've ever known, and you were close to retirement,
you might just go.
I might just choose to go.
Just like COVID got a lot of the teachers to retire.
Right. So I think that as a whole for the real estate industry, there would be less realtors.
I agree. I brought you some interesting information.
Oh.
We're taking a break from our opinion poll.
Okay.
And we're going to learn that the number of realtors grew by more than 156,000 in the combined years of 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
According to NAR, and peaked at a record high, the most realtors ever, of 1.6 million in October of 2022. Okay. Just a whole herd of y'all out there. There has been a decrease of about 74,000 members in the 5 months since October peak. So it wasn't current to today. It's probably gone even lower, but November, December, January, February, March. This is through March. 74,000 left.
Wow.
Okay.
It's a big number.
Now, this was a stat I thought was disturbing, and we've all heard it maybe. In fact, there were more than twice as many realtors in March 2023. Y'all, and that's after 74,000 of them left. There were twice as many realtors in March of 2023 as active homes listed on the market. A total of 1.5 million agents compared with just 563,000 houses.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Yeah, y'all, if you want to continue in this career, you better be good. That's what's happening here.
That's what this is saying.
That's what's happening here. Okay, so for context, so for anyone hearing, y'all, I've been here a minute, since 2005, so I've seen it. I've seen the bad market. For context, in 2006 alone, so 2006, before the bubble burst, okay, right? We're going up. Everyone can buy a house. You didn't even have to have a job. You could just get yourself a house.
Okay.
They would be like, you want a house? Fine, there you go. For context, in 2006 alone, NAR added nearly 100,000 members and reached a peak of roughly 1.4 million. By early 2012, so after the bubble burst, membership had plummeted to 964,000.
Wow.
Now, I mean, that's over a 6-year span. So it was peaked at 1.4, and after the bust, we're not having a bubble burst. So to be fair, but we are having an industry shakeup, if you will, possibly.
You know what I find interesting about the stat of the number of let's use even numbers. The number of realtors grew by more than 150,000 during COVID. But then once COVID was over, 75,000 left. So half left.
Half of that number.
So it's like, what is the stat? How many agents?
It's 85% by year 3, right?
Right. So this is accurate. 50% did not survive their first 2 years.
Yeah, and I would be curious to see the brand new agents, what that fail rate is, because the market has gone in such a different direction, right?
Yeah.
And we'll know in a year or two. All right, we're back to the survey, and we'll try to speed you along.
Okay.
What kind of organizations do you think will be most affected by the commission lawsuits? Here, I'll just let you read them. Realtor Association, multiple listing services, brokerage and franchisor, real estate technology companies, or other.
Multiple listing services
Would be the most affected by the commission lawsuit.
I think so. Maybe realtor
associations.
I
don't know. I honestly,
it doesn't say like the realtor on here,
right? Which would be brokerage, maybe, because your broker's the one.
Yeah, I guess the brokerages would be most affected, and then the MLS services. I don't know, like if we can't really use them.
You know what I thought was funny about real estate tech company being an option? I mean, are we talking about like the big bad Z? Like it's going to be harder to sell all these sweet buyers agents leads because they're going to have to then go out there and convince these people to pay them.
Right. It's not just about opening a door for a buyer lead you paid for.
It's a little
It's going to be
harder.
There's going to be a few extra steps to meet compliance.
Okay, so just
something to think about. Makes you
this
think.
is all things to think about. Okay, have you consulted with an attorney about the possible impact of the lawsuits on your business?
No. And I don't plan to.
Great. No,
that was one of the choices. It says yes, no, but I plan to. No, and I don't plan to. I don't plan to contacting an attorney at this time.
Also, for the record, this is why I'm not a broker. It's moments like this when I'm just a sad little angel.
I feel like if I was thinking about being a broker, this would make me sit tight.
Take a beat. Okay, in 2023, how many hours have you spent on training, coaching, and or planning efforts in anticipation of the commission lawsuits triggering changes in the industry? 0 hours, 1 to 5 hours, 5 to 20 hours, 20 to 50 hours, or more than 50 hours?
I would say 1 to 5. However, my disclaimer is that my office is offering more. I just have not participated just yet.
With the amount of articles I've read, I'm going to give me the 5 to 20 range now.
100%. I'm very knowledgeable about this right now.
I don't know why you would need to go above 20 hours of this. But I guess if you're trying to educate yourself on how to deal with it, then yes, that's going to take some time. But just learning about it, whatever. And good news, if you're here and listening, you're about to be at your 1 hour mark.
Oh, good.
You're not in 0.
You're going to have 1 hour of education on this topic if you had 0 prior.
Whether you wanted to or not.
Yes.
Okay. Has your local realtor association or MLS reached out to you to inform you about the lawsuits?
Has GBRA?
I don't think so.
I don't think I've really gotten emails from our
So it was a yes, no, or I don't remember. Alyssa's going, I don't remember.
If they did, I don't remember.
I think no.
Yeah, my office
I read most of them. Okay. If you're an MLS executive, what is the most significant action or change you're making now to prepare for the lawsuit rulings? This was interesting. I'm considering making the offer of compensation optional in my MLS. I'm considering requiring buyer agent subscribers to have their buyers sign buyer agency agreements. It's so hard to say this stuff.
Like you have to submit them?
I guess. I don't know. Like just like you have to have a listing agreement to put a listing in.
Oh.
You have to have a buyer agreement to.
Wow. Okay.
I've consulted with legal counsel about the possible impact of the lawsuit on my MLS.
That's what I would be doing. That's probably all I'd be doing right now.
Yeah. I've reached out to my insurance company to check if their expenses related to the lawsuits. Okay. I've sent my subscribers information detailing the lawsuits and their possible impact. I'm not making any changes before I know how the cases will end.
I think that's what a lot of people are doing.
I'm not making any changes before I know how this is going to end.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this and I don't care. And I think that is wrong. Okay. Number 20. How big of an impact do you think a loss by NAR and other defendants would have on the real estate technology landscape on a scale of 1 to 5? With 5 being the worst.
If we lose, I think it would be a 4 or 5.
And that's real estate tech companies.
Right.
Okay. I love it. I tend to agree. How do you think the commission lawsuits might impact the amount of resources such as venture capital that are invested in developing and building real estate technology?
I don't know.
You're like,
that's above my, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to read the choices just so everyone will know them. I think the lawsuits will lead to more investment in real estate tech. I don't believe that for a second.
Well, it could if they're going to try to come up with a new creative way to market your listings now that they've squashed one marketing platform, which is the MLS.
Yeah, MLS. Okay, maybe so. You're right. I think the lawsuits will lead to less investment, or I don't think the lawsuits will have an impact on investment in real estate technology. Okay. We're moving on to my questions. Good job. Okay. You succeeded. And Pat, but look, I thought that survey made me think
that was
about
a good survey.
A lot of the angles, and so that we can all understand why is this even being talked about.
Right.
Those are all the possible kind of impacts. Now, tell us what Connie is doing to prepare.
Well, our brokerage is dedicating the sales meeting. It was all through the month of August to talk about it. And then I think, well, we're always getting updates on if there was something in the news. What did they say? What happened? I think they just don't want this to be a surprise.
Yeah.
You don't want this to be a surprise. And then when it gets closer, there will be classes dedicated to just this topic.
Agree.
But it's hard to know what they're teaching until we know what the outcome is.
Agree.
But I would bet that Connie has like a blue folder and a green folder, and like whatever way this goes, she's like,
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
She's always ready.
We got to pull the right folder.
Yeah, it's like we're cutting a wire on a bomb.
Yes. Yes.
Just, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Is it going to go off or not? Okay. I do think that now if you want to be prepared, whether this goes one way or the other, I think it's time to start considering a buyer brokerage agreement and how you would implement that into your business. And it probably, like you just said, would be easier to start using it now before you had to, because you can kind of feel out the situation and get into your groove and like
learn what you say.
Right.
How you present it in a positive light, how you sell it.
Right. Like get comfortable with it. The only positive to waiting, then when everyone has to do it, at least it wouldn't be like your buyer saw it from you and said no and went to another person and they didn't have to do it.
Once it's required,
everyone's going to do it.
If they want to use a realtor to buy a house, everyone's going to have to sign one.
Right. Right. Okay. So I think this is when we need to really talk about the importance of your buyer presentation. Like, how do you intake a buyer? What do you talk about? What happens after that? Is it a Zoom? Is it an in-person meetup at the coffee shop? Do you give a, showing to meet? Like, where are you doing do you even have a buyer presentation? I mean, everyone has a listing presentation or some like steps that they go through. Is a buyer calling you and you're like, I'll be at the house in 5 minutes.
Right.
And you show up
not
with
prepared.
Nothing,
yeah.
You're going to need something because you're not going to be able to show up and start shoving this buyer agreement in people's faces if you don't have any presentation.
Right.
Okay. So I think that it'll end up, if it goes through, they're going to interview you just like they interview you for listings. People are going to start interviewing you to be a buyer's agent.
They're going to care a lot more now that they're hiring someone and paying
them. They're going to want to know what you're doing. Okay. And I think you're going to have to show your value if you're going to be asking people to compensate you for that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You're not just a door opener.
And
know your value.
And that right there, what you just said, is something we're all going to have to overcome because there are plenty of people in the public that think you're just opening doors. Right. And they're going to be like, well, I don't want to pay you to do that. And I don't have to. Because that's what's going to happen. They won't. Not that they have to now. But it's interesting. So I do think your cover letter was a really good start.
Thank you.
We're starting. I also would like to say that I feel like my buyer folder has me set up completely for this. If I wanted to simply add in the back of the folder, the buyer agreement, I would just go through it as normal, do my normal presentation. And at the end, I would be like, if this sounds like how you'd like to work, and if you want to live up to these things, and I'm going to do these things, sign here. This is what you pay, and this is where you sign.
Yeah.
So I think that the buyer folder is huge. I have that in everything that I do in mine and agent systems, which luckily people can get this week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's open right now?
Right now.
Awesome.
Right now. So if you want to see what I do, it's all in there. Resume. I think you're going to need a resume that's for buyers. So just everything you've ever done for a seller, you're going to have to start doing for a buyer.
Yep.
And the other problem is if you've always been a buyer's agent and you don't know what it looks like to be a listing agent, it's time to learn.
Right. You can't just survive on buyers.
No.
You need to be a listing agent as well.
Yeah, not if this happens.
Yeah.
Again, being able to articulate your value, I think it would be good to go back to that episode we did on, I think it's for sale by owner, and it's speaking to your value. Value isn't, we'll put it in the show notes. Okay. That one is really helpful to give you some ideas of what to say.
Yep.
And then I think that like on your sheet, you have a list of commitments to the buyers. Like, it's time to make a list. What are you providing to your buyers? Right. You're not just opening doors. What are you providing? And then please remember that giving advice, helping people to decipher data, facilitating contract to close are far more important than you finding someone a house. So if people start talking to you about, well, I found my own house, or I don't need you to open the door, advice, data, and facilitating contract to close to me are where you really earn your money.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have one last thing.
Okay.
I think this is a somewhat unpopular opinion, and I have always done it this way, or mostly done it this way. I give a free showing. I qualify my buyers on the phone. I make sure they're not serial killers to the best of my ability, and I make sure they're pre-approved, but I'm not going to force them to come to my office and have a 1-hour presentation about why you should work with me. I do think that it is easier to get a buyer to agree to go to a house than it is to get them to agree to go to your office.
Sure.
Or a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So in the market right now where there are not as many buyers and it's a little tougher and we can't afford to lose someone, I want you to know you can still do a buyer presentation once you have them in that house.
Right. Like now that you have them in the
They're
house
there.
and you have shown it, whip out your folder on the kitchen counter
And
go through everything.
Every time.
I feel like that's what I do.
Perfect. The nice part of that to me is they've also seen how you work.
Yeah.
What is this going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
Did you show up on time? How did you show the house?
Did you show up on time?
I might not have, but we'll see, But the point is you did it.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's a little easier to be like, hey, do you want to continue with me? This is how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, if you want to continue, I'll continue your search, but this is where you sign.
I think that's great advice.
Sign the dotted line. Okay. Do you have any other thoughts on this topic? This has been a lot.
This is great.
You enjoyed it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You want me to read our toast?
I think you should.
Read so much.
I've read so much information today.
And that looks like a long one.
This is your toast. Go for it.
Okay. I also just wanted to feel newsy,
You shake the papers on the desk.
Okay. This is from Kelly Kimmick in Pocatello, Idaho.
Yeah, girl, Idaho.
To Jade Robinson. I would like to toast my realtor friend, Jade Robinson. She has been licensed for a few years and has done an amazing job building up her own solo business after leaving a team. We used to be in the same brokerage and now we're not, but I just want her to know that she is killing it and doing an amazing job, and I'm always going to be her biggest fan.
I love that.
She is the type of person who is constantly improving herself, and she always wants to give her clients an amazing experience.
She won't have any trouble with this.
No trouble here. I introduced her to your podcast and I love it. And she loves it when she posts screenshots of which episode she's listening to.
Love it.
I can really tell that she has overcome a ton of challenges and still she persists. I'm proud of you, Jade. Keep up the good work.
Oh, man. Cheers
was
to
a
Jade.
great
That was a great
one.
one. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Kelly, that was so nice.
Jade sounds awesome.
She does.
You guys, just don't be afraid, be prepared.
Yes.
Is my tagline for
Oh, don't be afraid, be
prepared. And remember, Agent Systems out there for you if you need some help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, that was good. Thanks for making me do that.
Okay. Thank you for doing it.
I didn't want to.
I know you didn't want to.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review, or like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.